Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to NEN Webinar. My name is Meenakshi, and on behalf of NEN and Vadhani Foundation, I would like to invite you all for this webinar and also introduce our expert speaker, Kaustav Tharkalkar, founder director of the BSQ Group. He is mentor at Center of Innovation, Incubation and Entrepreneurship at IIM Ahmedabad. He is also a mentor at Economic Times Power of Ideas. He is an Associate Dean Business Design and Innovation at Wellinkar Institute of Management Development and Research, Mumbai. With all that, he also heads the Center of Innovation and Memetics at Wellinkar Institute of Mumbai. Before I hand over the floor to Kaustav, there are a few reminders for the audience. You will be on mute. You may ask a question by typing in the panel provided. Over to you, Kaustav.
Yeah, thanks Meenakshi for the introduction, and good afternoon to all. We have about an hour or so. I don't mind if it extends a little bit, it doesn't matter. The flow will be something like this. Creating unique and sustainable business models is the topic that we've chosen. And what we will do is first I'll kind of set the context in the sense that what kind of questions one needs to ask to create a unique and a sustainable business model. Next, I will be sharing some of my research on unique business models across the globe and trying to draw some unique traits which have made those businesses what they are. And then we will kind of discuss how business models have evolved and can evolve over the next few years. And then I would leave you with introspecting into the business models or the businesses that you have created. At what level on that evolution scale do your startups stand? All right, so this is the kind of the flow of the setting. Let's move to the first point, that is setting the context. I hope you can see the screen. Yeah. These are a few questions that one needs to ask when you kind of create a business model for taking your idea to the market. How do we reach the customer? A few more questions in that, rather the sub-questions in that is, what is your USP? How are you unique from the crowd? How do you differentiate yourself from the melange of so many other businesses out there? What is your user excitation strategy? User excitation strategy, I mean, why would a consumer get excited to use your product? This is something that you need to think yourself. Where do you make your products available? Where do you make your products available, as in, for example, conventionally, when people think of the regular channels of distribution or where the product will be available, are you also following that conventional channel, or are you able to think differently if you're willing to think differently? I'll give you an example. There was this jewelry business whom I was doing some consulting for, and that was in the business of 100% exports. They used to operate out of an SEZ in Mumbai, exporting the entire of their produce to mostly Western Europe, US and Australia. And they wanted to expand, but they had kind of got into hit a ceiling where expansion was very difficult. So we were generally sitting and discussing what we should do to break that ceiling. And I asked a very fundamental question about what real business are you in? All of them said we are in the business of manufacturing and exporting jewelry, and the typical industry perspective. But when we delved a little deeper, we got the answer that we are not in the jewelry business, but we are in the fashion business. Yeah, I repeat, fashion business. Because why does a consumer wear jewelry? So obviously, as a fashion statement, to look good, etc., etc., and that gets well captured by the phrase that we are in the fashion business. Now, the moment they kind of, that sunk in that the company is in the fashion business, then a whole new kind of outlook emerged that where do we need to be, where do we need to make our products available? Obviously, the next question is, where do people consume fashion? Now, from that, the obvious answers came that we need to be present at stores which sell accessories, stores which sell electronic gadgets like mobile phones, etc. The e-commerce route, which they were not thinking of at all earlier, suddenly became open, because that's where a lot of people buy fashion. A lot of youngsters buy fashion. So that's what I mean by asking that question, where do you make your products available? And obviously by trying to understand what business you are in from the consumer's perspective, not from your perspective. The next point I would like, the next question is on screen there. How do we optimize our operations? Let me take an example of the world famous do-it-yourself furniture brand IKEA. I'm sure everybody has heard of IKEA. IKEA is that company which sells do-it-yourself furniture. Let's kind of analyze how IKEA operates. By making you assemble their furniture, what has it effectively done? According to me, what it has done is simply eliminated their production line and put that production line into the houses of the customers, and making people feel excited about doing it themselves. Right? So point number one is shifting production from the shop floor into the customer's house, by which they have eliminated their assembly line, they have eliminated their huge real estate, they have liquidated real estate. That much money is available for expansion, for real meaningful activities otherwise. Now, by doing that, how does IKEA operate? IKEA publishes a catalog, a thick fat catalog of different designs every year, and sells their furniture as flat planks of wood, and they give their nuts, bolts, spanners and Allen keys, etc., to help you assemble it. Now with that, what they have given now for this how do they create this catalog? They have this web portal where designers from across the world post their designs. A panel at IKEA selects the best of those, and then only those best are included in the IKEA catalog, which means they have access to the best in the world from freelance designers across the globe. Whichever gets selected, whatever their arrangement is with those designers, they probably get some royalty, etc., etc. Those details I do not know. But what have they effectively done is that they have shifted their manpower base from carpenters to a high-end knowledge worker like a designer, and that to a freelance designer. So they have cut their permanent costs and converted them into variable costs. That's something that you need to draw from this. All right. Coming to the next point of IKEA again, when they ship out, they don't ship the entire, say you're buying a table, they don't ship the entire table. They ship that table top, they ship the stand which is foldable, and they ship out nuts, bolts, etc., which will be required for fitting all that, which means they are saving huge on volumes in logistics. Like for example, if you were to ship out a cupboard, according to me 85 to 90% of that cupboard is hollow, which means the company is transporting just air and bearing the freight charges. Whereas what IKEA does is IKEA transfers it in flat planks, which is much more compact. So probably they save about 70–80% of the logistics costs. So that's hugely lean operations. All right, and what they do is they source all these boards of MDF. MDF is a kind of wood, that compacted wood, which they use in their furniture. And most of this comes from Indonesia, Malaysia, China, etc. and all these components, ready to fit, ready to assemble components, are sent to the IKEA warehouse, that is the point of sale, which means their inventory holding cost also becomes next to negligible. So that's how they're driving these, optimizing of these operations. Coming to the next question on the screen, how do we source our manpower? From this example, you might have realized, from this IKEA example, how they've shifted from a large employee base of carpenters to a very small employee base of variable kind of manpower, that is designers across the globe. And by creating that aspirational feel about getting your design in the catalog of IKEA, the best people put their inputs. That's their manpower strategy. Now, how do we source our inputs, and what kind of tie-ups should we seek? Those also kind of have been answered, have been touched in that IKEA example. For example, where do we source our inputs from? As I mentioned some time back, they source their inputs from all over the globe, be it Indonesia, Malaysia, China, etc. And what kinds of tie-ups do they have with these people? So these are people who actually create almost finished stuff for IKEA and ship it out at the point of sale, and the customer takes it away and does the assembly himself or herself. Now that's something which is a very interesting thing. It's a very extremely lean model. One needs to pick out inputs and see how one can apply these things in your own startup ventures, established ventures, or whatever that is. Coming to the next point, how do we create an optimal product mix? Obviously, there is seasonality of sale. Things that you need to be tracking are, one is seasonality of sales of your products. Are you tracking profit contribution from your different products, and are you making the ideal product mix there? Now let's move. This is the kind of the agenda that I've set for the discussion. Now I will share some of my research on unique business models with some real life examples. So let's move to the next slide. Traits of unique business models. Point number one is aggregation of demand. We will talk everything with examples and see how you can apply it, or how it actually can apply to your startups, your ventures. There is this company called photocopy.com, started by 2 or 3 guys from IIT Delhi. What they observed was that in a semester, on an average, a university student does Xeroxing worth about anything between 100 to 200 rupees. Xeroxing worth 100 to 200 rupees. Notes, kuch bhi ho, all that kind of stuff. Now, all over India, close to 15 to 20 lakh students pass out of universities. And just do the math, and it will be close to a 400 to 500 crore Xeroxing business. But look at how that business operates. It's all fragmented all over the place. There are these small Xeroxing fellows here and there, like Lakshmi Xerox or Chadda Xerox, or those kinds of fellows operating independently. Now, what these guys realize, that if we can aggregate that demand at the back end, we could actually route a lot of business through us, making a little bit of margin on each Xerox copy that is sold. So what they do is, the photocopy operates in a fashion like this. You go to an outlet of photocopy.com, which could be run by one of their franchisees also. For every 20 Xeroxes that a student does, that purchaser, the student, gets a kind of a scratch card with some number on it. One has to take that scratch card and come back to their website, go to the website of photocopy.com and feed in that number of whatever that number is there on the scratch card. And then that person gets redeemable coupons which can be redeemed at various outlets such as CCDs or TGIFs or Hard Rock Cafe, or you can redeem it on some prepaid airtime that you buy, and the works. So what they have done actually is they have aggregated this fragmented Xerox demand at a back end in such a way that it is attractive for students. So actually the student pays something when he takes the Xerox, but the Xerox copy becomes free when the student actually redeems the coupons at various outlets that they have tied up with. So it's a very smart strategy of aggregation of demand is what I call. Another example is freecharge.com also does the same thing. When you log on and buy airtime, you get encashable coupons at various outlets. So the focus of this business, coming back to photocopy.com, a typical Xeroxing business has to focus on cheap paper and lean operations, minimizing costs. But look at photocopy.com. What is its critical success factor? Its critical success factor is tying up with all those places where the student can encash the coupons. So what they are basically trying to look at is, where do students hang out and how can I attract them to our Xerox outlets so that they get redeemable coupons which they can redeem at places which they love to hang out at. So the whole business focus changes, and hence the entire business model changes. The people that they tie up with changes. Their business no longer really remains buying cheap paper. Their business really remains in trying to tie up with as many outlets as possible where students would like to hang out. So it's understanding student behavior and where they hang out is more important than buying cheap paper in this business. So the whole business model gets kind of turned around on its head. Second point is trying to generate alternate revenue streams. Examples are classic examples of Skype, Facebook, etc. They don't ask you to pay to access their services, but they are monetizing your presence there through a lot of data analytics that they sell, big data, metadata, etc. So advertising and all that kind of stuff. So can you look at generating alternate revenue streams? Normally we think very conventional. I sell this and I get money for this. But if you think a little deeper, there are enough ways in which one can really generate alternate revenue streams. Point number 3, crowdsourcing through community issues. There is this site called patientslikeme.com, which is an aggregation of patients who are suffering from some queer kind of diseases, not very well-known diseases, but things which have no known cure or no established cure. So patients come together like that and they voice their, oh, I've been suffering from this, I have these symptoms, etc., etc. And it's like a social network of patients. And somebody sitting in some corner in some place in Alaska accesses this network and says, oh, this is something which I also face. And these people get connected and the discussion thread goes on. And this happens across thousands of people. And they are discussing very different diseases which are not well known. Now, this data is mined by pharmaceutical companies with the permission of these patients, these people on that network. And by the way, this site is promoted by 3 or 4 pharmaceutical companies together. So that's crowdsourcing through community issues. So that's a different kind of a business model that emerges. The next point, identifying an NVA and looking to monetize it. NVA is a non-value-added activity. For example, there's a company in the US called Cash Your Drive. When you drive your car, the outside space, the metallic shell of your car is free advertising. Now, this company, you can subscribe to this company by saying that, okay, I will let out my car space, outside car space for advertising for different brands. In return, I get some money paid. So that's identifying a non-value added activity and using it and to make money, to monetize it. Another example is, classic example would be duty-free shopping on an airline. You are on a long 8-hour haul and you have nothing to do. There is somebody cashing in on your non-value-added activity and trying to sell you something. So identifying NVAs around you and see where you can push some products in there. Next point is giving talent a platform. There is this company called, there is a website called quirky.com where every month they ask people to upload their ideas and concepts, and they kind of shortlist the top 3 promising ones, and they help these people prototype that concept. They help these people try that concept on some sample here and there. That means they help people, those top 3, refine their product. Once the product is refined and it is marketable, they also provide sales service. They have tie-ups with various retailers across the world, America to be precise, focused on the US. And they actually give marketing space, I mean rather marketing channels, open up marketing distribution channels also for these top 3 ideas. So what are they doing? They're basically giving talent a platform and making money out of the whole thing. Now they obviously take royalties from all those sales made, or if a company gets formed out of those top 3 ideas that they have chosen, they probably take an equity stake out of the whole thing. But basically what they're doing is they're giving talent a platform. Next point is fractional ownership. Let me not talk about NetJets, but if you are familiar with how horse racing goes on, if you go to any any of these race courses, etc., horses cost anything between 1 crore to 20 crores depending on the pedigree and the breed and all that. And most of these horses, very few of these horses are really owned by just one person. They are owned fractionally by different people. So especially useful when you're trying to sell products which are really high value and you're not getting users people to shell out that kind of money. Fractional ownership can be looked at. Classic examples are timeshare holidays like your Mahindra holidays and Sterling resorts and stuff like that. NetJets is a company which helps industrialists buy a jet, but not individually. NetJets gets 5-6 people together who individually may not be able to buy a jet, but collectively they can pool in some money and get fractional ownership. So maybe some 5-6 people come together and buy 20% of an airline of an aircraft. They can share it in the year in that ratio of ownership. That's one thing. Next point is a very simple point: bridging the trust deficit. Every buyer has an inherent distrust about the seller. Can you trust that? Can you bridge that trust deficit? Flipkart did it by introducing cash on delivery. Was cash on delivery really the first thing that happened in India? No. The Indian Post had something called VPP, via postal service, long back, but this was used by Flipkart, and that was actually one of the major reasons why they have surged ahead. That could be one. Next point: making the customer the consumer. Typical of these MLM or other multi-level marketing kind of a model. Tupperware does it, Avon does it, a whole bunch of people do it now. Amway does it. So that's one trait of a business model. Recycling waste products to create different products. Atero is a big is not a big company as yet, but it has got funded 3 years back, and they are on the way to becoming a really sound, stable company. Atero is a company which wanted to recycle mobile phones, extract precious metals, and sell that for something else. So that's what they've been doing. So now they have morphed into a company which kind of asks people to give their old mobile phones. If the phones are salvageable, they are resold, and if the phones are not salvageable, then they are actually stripped down, and whatever precious stuff that is taken out is recycled. So that's one thing. The next are a few common ones. Pay-per use is a model that one can use. Software as a service, especially useful for products which are expensive. Can you think of, instead of selling it directly, can you think of leasing it out? Can you think of creating a pay-per-use kind of a model for your product? That could be one. Franchising out, global sourcing, direct marketing like Dell, etc. is something that we've noticed. Exploiting a void in the legal system. Not unethical, but there is a void in the legal system, and can one actually bridge that and do business? Nirma did it very successfully 40 years back. There used to be a rule which said that if a company used more than some 15 HP of power in their factory, they would be taxed central excise duty at the rate of 14% or something at that time. What Nirma did very smartly was they set up small different plants at different places, each using 7.5 HP of power, and straight away got that 16% price advantage over large companies like HUL at that time. And you know the history. I mean, Nirma made a big dent in surf at that time. Reliance has been an expert at it. Mind you, I'm not saying anything unethical, but these are loopholes which one can exploit and can be exploited. Yeah. Now, going on to the next level. How much time do we have? We have about 5 more minutes or so. No? Then we'll open it for a Q&A.
We can have 15 minutes more.
How have business models evolved? Oh, yeah. 15 minutes more? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is my analysis. Okay, am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, okay. This is my kind of my analysis of how businesses really, evolve over a period of time. Phase 1, consumer finds the product when he or she feels the need to buy it. All right. Let's take an example. Say we are talking about packaged drinking water like Bisleri or Kinley or Aquafina, etc. These came in the market some 45 years back, right? Now, these products at that time were available at various retail outlets. So what I mean is, when a person felt the need to have it, one would go and buy that product. All right. Now, then after that, after these bottles were available at retail stores, then came these bottles started getting distributed at vending machines, or they introduced those 5, 10, 15, 25 liter cans which used to come to our home, right? So that's the next move. That is, the company will provide the product where the consumer needs it. Yeah. Now, the next level is trying to make that product available as ubiquitously as possible. So, as ubiquitously as possible means try to make it available anywhere and everywhere. So what would be the ideal case? The ideal case of packaged drinking water available ubiquitously would be on the tap at home, right? That's the next level of graduation of a business. Company will provide the product as ubiquitously as possible, right? Next, this thing is not moving ahead. Yeah. Next point is the company analyzes the consumer's behavior to anticipate where and when she will use the product. That is, now when I said make it as ubiquitously available as possible is a very hypothetical situation for packaged drinking water. But one can make other products ubiquitously available with today's technology. Now the next point I'm making is 2011 onwards, various companies have been analyzing consumer behavior to anticipate when and where that customer will need the product. Like for example, by analyzing weather patterns, by analyzing your activity, by analyzing your activity levels at different times in the day, by analyzing the seasonality, etc. Can one not predict when a person will become thirsty and then make the packaged drinking water available there? That's big data for you. Metadata, data analytics, pattern finding, etc. Point B that I'm trying to make is use of wearable technology. Wearable gadgets are available today which can track your, which you can wear and you can track your blood pressure, your pulse rate, your breathing rate, etc., etc., etc. So physiological responses are being kind of captured in a quantitative fashion these days. So I'm sure there is technology available which can actually convert a parched throat into some kind of a signal which is IP enabled, and the company can access and actually can predict that this person is going to feel thirsty after maybe so many minutes or so many hours, and then I'm placing my product in front of you at that time. Now that's the journey or the evolution of business models that a company goes through. I'll repeat once again, I'll go back to that earlier screen. Point one is a consumer will go to buy the product when she needs to a place where the company makes the product available. Point two, the company will make the product available where the consumer needs it, like the vending machines, etc., which I talked about. The next is the company tries to make the product available as ubiquitously as possible, as everywhere as possible. Next point is company anticipates through consumer behavior when and where she will need the product and then make it available. Big data and wearable tech are just some means to be able to understand that. With that, I think I'll conclude my talk, and now let's throw it open for a Q&A.
Sure. Thank you so much. I request all the attendees to type in their questions to Kaustav. We'll start with the first question, which is being posted by Manoj Patel. His question is, how can one evolve business model where technology adoption is concerned as market in India compared to global market? Here we are focused with Indian market only right now.
Yeah, see, I think we are in no way behind in terms of technology, for the simple reason that close to 70–75% of the Indian population has a device in hand which is called a mobile phone, which is as good as a computer there. Now I'll give you an example of phone banking. In fact, all these private banks, for you to be able to bank through the mobile phone, one needs a smartphone. But a fuddy-duddy company like SBI has incorporated technology which enables mobile banking through a simple Java-enabled phone, which is like any, a Nokia basic 3300 or 1100 kind of a model. So I think it's a matter of finding the right appropriate technology for our country. There is that instrument through which a lot of things can be done today. It is just creatively we need to use it. This example of SBI, we always call them a fuddy-duddy, a laggard in terms of technology, etc. But I think they've done a very smart thing by understanding that Java-enabled phones are available with, the most basic phones are available with almost everybody around. I think we need to be a little creative in that.
Right. Next question is from Venkata Naveen Indala. His question is entrepreneurial growth in India relevant to its needs?
Entrepreneurial growth relevance to its needs.
Yeah.
I didn't quite get the question. I didn't quite get
Right.
it.
I'll ask him to explain his
I would
question.
only respond by saying that unless there is a need in the market, there can't be an entrepreneurial venture.
Right. Moving on to the next question. Anand Kumar wants to know how can we make our business models more flexible according to the constantly and in fact rapidly changing external business environment.
See, a business model is not something that is cast in concrete. No strategy should ever be cast in concrete. One has to be flexible. Look at how CCD has come to the level that it is at today. Compare it with, say, another coffee shop chain like Barista. Barista had a 5 or 6 year advantage over CCD. CCD came in much later in 2003, 2004, whereas Barista was launched in the late 90s. Barista came in being a Tata company. They bought real estate and set up their own outlets. CCD took the franchising route because they didn't have capital to begin with. They set up their brand through the franchisee route. They set up that brand, made it a big brand, and attracted private equity into their business. When they were flush with funds, now for the last 3 to 5 years, they have also started buying real estate. They are not really going the full franchisee way they used to do earlier. That's a big lesson for us to learn, that we've got to remain flexible. And how we can remain flexible is by being really, really aware of what the consumers are demanding, how technologies are evolving. Now with evolving technologies and evolving consumer needs, we need to tie up with different vendors at different points in time to remain really flexible. One thing to remain flexible is, try to avoid fixed costs. Try to convert your fixed costs into variable costs as far as possible. And if not possible, then try to minimize the fixed costs by maybe sharing resources. There are a lot of cloud-based platforms to help you enable sharing of resources with a lot of other people. There are a lot of pay-per-use options, etc. So explore all that. That will keep you really flexible by keeping you abreast with whatever is happening around.
Right. Kaustav, Shreyank Hampi wants to know, in regards to the point you made, make customers a distributor. Could you? He wants you to elaborate this point, because he runs a healthcare company that makes products mostly for youth, and he wants to make his customers a distributor. In this case, how can he? How can he apply this in his?
You should study how Tupperware operates, how Amway operates, how Avon operates. They actually, somebody comes and sells to you, and you become a distributor, and you sell to somebody. That's multi-level marketing, right? In fact, even in companies for recruitment, this kind of a model is used, referral model. Employees, if they bring in some new employees, they get a cut on that. So that also is multi-level marketing. Now, how they are operating, one has to really study that model deeply. But I think it's a successful model because of one example, glaring example which comes to my mind is Amway in India. Compare it with an established company, say like Godrej, operating in our country for 100 years, next to almost 80 to 100 years. Still at about 2,500 to 3,000 crores in India, whereas Amway comes in the late 90s, somewhere in 96, 97. And in the space of 18 years, it is a 5,500 crore company here, which definitely gives me a signal that that multi-level marketing thing is working. And if you're really trying to push that model, see what will excite that target group of yours. If I heard Meenakshi right, Shashank, what you're saying is you are targeting the youth. So try to see what excites them, what will get them into your fold, and encourage or inspire or push them to sell your products. So that's something which you'll have to really check at that target level, what excites them. That's what I meant by user excitation strategy right in the beginning. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
First up, Aisha Karim wants to know how can we do something unique for a decor store, selling branded curtains, upholstery,
For
bedsheet, for unique business for a interior decoration store, which sells branded curtains, upholstery,
yeah. Okay.
bedsheet. When there are 5, 6 other around you, doing the same business, and she started 5 months back.
I see. The last two slides that I took you through. That is, consumer will go to a place where he or she will find the product. That's phase one. Then phase two is company will provide the product where the consumer needs it. Next is providing it ubiquitously, and next is anticipating where the customer will need. I think Aisha, right?
Yeah.
That's the name.
Yeah.
You need to analyze your business on these where you stand right now. Like for example, if you are just one of those shops which also sell decor products, home decor products, maybe can you actually provide some interior designing consultancy to the customers who come, and through that sell your products? I'm sure your customers will come to you if they get to know that yes, you provide some value-added services, rather than just sell a piece of cloth as curtain or a few meters of fabric. I as a customer would like to buy a curtain and not a fabric. I as a customer would like to buy an aesthetically designed drawing room and not just pieces of furniture in the drawing room. I hope you're getting what I'm saying. So what I'm basically saying is enhance your understanding of the consumer. The consumer is coming to you not for buying curtain, not for buying a sofa, not for buying tapestry, but a customer is coming to you expecting his house or her house to look good. How can you add value to your shop by making that happen, is what I would say. Yeah.
Right. Kaustubh, Shailaja Raj wants to know, I have just started a salon and a spa, and how do I build trust in people to walk in and experience my service?
Walk in and experience your service.
Yeah, probably, she wants to build in her customer database, and
Yeah.
she's looking for someone who can help her out with that, or processes that she can take.
Maybe. I think I being in the academic field, what I find is that the youth or the age bracket of 25 to 35, say 30, 32, gets influenced by some really strong influencers. Like a lot of companies today do their marketing through some brand ambassadors in colleges. Brand ambassadors, by brand ambassadors, I don't mean an Amir Khan or a Salman Khan or a Lara Dutta. I mean a brand ambassador in a college is a kind of a person who's like a cool dude, kind of a thing, who people want to ape, who people want to hang around with, etc. So can you find some people in that locality who some way or the other become your customers and have a positive kind of a word of mouth spread in that locality? That will probably increase your footfall. You would probably, rather than waiting for customers to come to you, maybe start a kind of a home service as far as all these treatments are concerned. There is a company in Mumbai, I think the company is available across India. It's called Belita, B-E-L-I-T-A. They operate in an extremely professional manner. They come home and deliver all those services. Maybe that could be one way of doing it. It will save a lot on real estate also for you. I mean, maybe you could explore all these, or you could also target offices where you find a lot of working women who do not have time to go to a salon otherwise, except for the weekend. Can you, do something towards the end of office time or during lunch breaks or something like that. I mean, these might sound silly, but I'm just thinking aloud at the moment. You could explore any of these. But remember the point number 2 of the second last slide. The company should provide the service where the consumer needs it. Don't expect you to sit at one place and consumer to come to you. That's something that I would leave you with.
Right. I don't know whether this question is, I don't know, it makes some sense. Manish Chandani is an author, and he's about to start selling his book soon. So he wants to know, to sell smartly, does he need to, do you recommend having tie-ups with other authors to promote his book with the other simultaneous, other upcoming authors or, established authors, or should he just go with the publications?
I don't know, but there is this trend of self-publishing these days, which that famous Shiva trilogy, Amish Tripathi or Amish Trivedi. He got fed up going to these publications for 5 years and then decided to self-publish it. There are tools available, there are vendors available who can help you self-publish. That's something which you can check out. There are platforms where you can meet similar people, similar authors who are in that similar state where publishers are just taking ages to look at your publication and stuff like that. You could explore those possibilities.
Prashant wants to know what is the right way to do marketing to sample medical devices, where some process is involved, like it's a proper full-on machinery. What is the right way to market it?
Medical devices, if they are invasive devices, then you need a lot of permissions and regulations. It's a regulated market. If those are non-invasive devices, then things become a little simpler. I mean, trying to organize some kind of a booth somewhere, if it's a non-invasive device, yeah, if it's a non-invasive device, I'm saying. If it's an invasive device, then it is a completely different ballgame. You've got to have a lot of permissions and stuff like that. But maybe, depends on what kinds of healthcare devices you are into. If they are some youth-related wearable gadget kind of stuff, one can sample it at colleges, or you can build those awareness levels there. Again, in medical devices, there are different kinds. I mean, there are some high value stuff which obviously can't be demonstrated anywhere and everywhere. But there are also wearable things which can be hooked up to mobile phones and things like that. So what are you into? One would like to know. Only then can one really comment on that.
Right. So Vishwanathan Kanian wants to know, they are a service industry for engineering design solutions. Here the scenario is orders are not repetitive, only one-time order or no repetitive orders. If it comes, it will be once or 2 years.
I couldn't make out.
Hello, is my voice audible now?
Yeah. Now better, yeah.
Yeah, Vishwanathan Kanyan wants to know, he writes, we are a service industry for engineering design solution. Here the scenario is orders are not repetitive. Only one-time order or no repeat orders. Even if it comes, it will be once in 2 or 3 years. So we end up doing a lot of marketing activities to fetch an order, advise which model will fit us better, and suitable marketing strategies for our scenario.
I can kind of empathize with this because I have been in manufacturing of special purpose machines, which I empathize with Vishwanathan, because we used to have very few customers who would have the same requirement. So that was a big challenge which we also faced about 10 years back, 10 to 15 years back. And the best way to do it is focus on your competence, which I assume is designing new stuff. And in this case, also what happens is that the not so design inclined companies who are your competitors quickly clone your stuff and sell it at much cheaper prices. And then people don't come to you. If I'm just guessing, that might be a problem. Another thing that I see is that once I sell something, I may not have too much opportunity to sell another thing. So you need to really, you might be too focused in your geography, too localized. Are you really exploiting the entire geography of our country, or export potential for those products? Maybe you should look at that. But I'm sure it can't just, the demand can't just end with one customer. You got to explore other things, I mean other customers. Maybe if you are not able to do it yourself for whatever reason, you are a single man marketing team or whatever, then maybe you should look at appointing some agents across different geographies who can scout some business for you. That could be one way. Coming to the second point, that is, if your competition is troubling you in the sense that they're just cloning your product and selling it cheap, then can you actually tie up with your competition? Because if you are the first one to design the stuff, you're obviously the leader and the rest are the followers, which means they are good at aping, they are okay with manufacturing, but not with original design. So can you actually tie up with them? Might sound crazy at the moment, but actually this is what I did about 15 years back, and it really gave us good benefits. We used to focus on the design. Manufacturing bit, we let it out to 2 of our competitors, and 3 of us together as a syndicate we used to pitch for new business. That's also one way of completely looking at it differently. Now with that, what happened was my factory premises became easily liquidable. That was got converted into liquidity, cash available for expansion. That's something which one can look at. But in sum and substance, for these kinds of operations, you got to really remain really lean. You got to look for expanding your geographical reach by appointing maybe agents, sales agents, marketing agents, distributors, etc. And maybe third thing is, if you can take that extreme step of collaborating with your competition.
Yeah. Right. First of all, we'll take a couple of more questions.
Yeah, sure.
So Nitin wants to know, recently used the example of Amway. He wants to know, is the MLM company legal as the Amway CEO is arrested recently?
I don't exactly know why the CEO is arrested. I think there are reasons, different reasons for that arrest. That MLM is a standardized model which works across the world. Tupperware has been successful with it. The reason for the arrest is some malpractices somewhere inside, which is not to do with that established MLM kind of a model. So that's my comment. The MLM model as such is a set one. Yeah.
Right. However, to this answer, Shreyank Humpy also says that MLM is a comparatively dicey strategy as per industry experts.
No, it's a dicey strategy or whatever. It's, see, as a model, it's a working model. But the problems arise when you actually execute it. There is a big difference between the, what do you say, the proverbial cup and the lip. The model as such, Tupperware has been very good with it. Other companies, like there were a lot of these companies which sprung up in the late 90s, early 2000s, which did follow a lot of unethical ways of doing it. So these are unique ways of doing business. Now, the execution piece is the one that one has to really do properly. That's where most businesses fail. You have a brilliant idea, but while taking to the market, something somewhere slips out and the whole thing doesn't work. The business doesn't work. That's what.
Right.
The slide was about unique traits of unique business models. One has to analyze, one has to see what fits for your business, what doesn't fit for your business.
Right. Moving on.
The problem is, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
The problem is that we try to make a blanket fit with what is available there. We have to really check what is suitable, which aspect is suitable. Something may be suitable, something may not be suitable. We have to be discretionary about all that, no? Yeah.
Right. We'll take two more questions. Ravi Teja wants to know, do you suggest any innovative revenue model for an inspirational blogging business apart from conventional models like ads referring to products, etc.?
I mean, that business purely runs on footfalls. So it purely runs on
how many people
content
see
that you blog about. How many people see, and then if you really have a footfall like Facebook, maybe you can get into data analytics as well.
Right.
Metadata, big data, etc. So that business is purely driven by the content and how excited the user is to come back to your blog every day.
Right. Veena says all the examples are very interesting. To know more, can we have some more examples for unique partnerships?
What kind of unique? I mean, is that all the question is about?
Yeah. She wants to know more of the examples, what companies,
I mean,
the current
unique
trends.
partnerships as in I mean, there could be at large, big board level as well as at small levels. Like at unique things of funding that I've seen for the last 4 or 5 years are this Times Group funding Future Group.
Yeah.
They did not put in cash. They put in advertising equity, as in they said, we will put in 500 crores or 600 crores or whatever that amount is into your business, but we will not put in cash. For the next 5 years, we will give you 500 crores worth of advertising through our publications. Now that's a unique tie-up. There are tinkering hubs coming up in Silicon Valley where there are some successful entrepreneurs coming together and setting up labs where they call young kids to experiment and do all kinds of crazy stuff. If something comes out, some great product services come out, then the tinkering hub takes 5%, 6%, 10% equity in that. So that's kind of knowledge equity or whatever, I mean, experimental equity or R&D equity or whatever you call it. So that's something, that's kind of a tie-up which is coming up. That's at a high level. Now at a low level, low in the sense at a very ground level, if you are if you are say a fast food joint which is doing home delivery as well, and you are located next to a Kirana fellow, Kirana as in a general provision store, who also does home delivery. Now if you really analyze, you being in the food business, your deliveries will be mostly in the evening, 6 o'clock onwards. Whereas that Kirana fellow, the local general store fellow, would do home deliveries when the housewife is free at home, which is when she is free from cooking, which is presumably between 2 and 5 in the afternoon. He does his home deliveries between 2 and 5, and you do home deliveries between 6 and 10. So can you actually share one manpower who does his home deliveries as well as your home deliveries? Now this is a tie-up which is very contextual, and you kind of observe what you're doing, you observe what your surroundings are doing, and get into those kinds of tie-ups. So at a broad level, one I would only say that you have to see who are your vendors, who are your frontline distributors, how can I tie up, how can I, make maximum use or optimize or minimize my expenses by piggybacking on something else. Another blockbuster example comes to my mind is FedEx and Toshiba. A few years back, Toshiba was having problems at its operational end. FedEx used to be their delivery partner, that is their finished laptops would be picked up by FedEx and sent to their retailers all across the world. When they were facing this problem, Toshiba and FedEx came together, sat down and came up with a very unique agreement saying that from the Toshiba factories we will ship out components, and FedEx at its warehouses across the globe would set up small assembly units where they would be basically doing screwdriver technology and assembling those products into finished stuff, and then they would send it to the required retail stores. Now with this tie-up, what actually happened was FedEx, which is actually a front-end distribution channel partner of Toshiba, actually also came into the back end of the assembly process. So these are unique, these are unique things which happen, and they happen at a very contextual level. You've got to be in a deep understanding of your value chain. Where is the value addition happening? Where is the cost addition happening? How can I make my cost addition center, that is your distributor, retailer, etc., into your value addition center? That's something which you got to think for your own business. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Kaustav. Kaustav, can I have the last slide up?
Last slide. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the last. Yeah. Is there? Is it on?
No, the next one.
Yeah.
This
is the last one.
No, there is one more.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Okay.
So the next upcoming webinar is Sustainable Revenue Sources for Startups. It's on 27th of August, Wednesday, 3 to 4 p.m. Kaustav, thank you very much for this interesting session.
Yeah. All right.
Attendees kept on asking questions, so that made up the whole situation very interesting, the whole session very interesting. Attendees, if you found the session interesting, tweet us at NEN India. The recorded version of the webinar will be available at our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/user/eClub/NEN online by tomorrow. We're glad that the questions kept coming in, and the presentation recording of the session will be uploaded definitely by tomorrow evening. We have other offerings like mentoring clinic and mentoring for budding entrepreneurs. Do look us up at www.nenglobal.org and register to avail all the newsletters and invites for our amazing workshops, webinars, and clinics. Once again, Kaustav, thank you so much for your time, and thank you attendees for participating in the webinar.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice evening, Kaustav.
Yeah, thanks. It was a pleasure. Yeah, thank you.
Bye.